Hi everyone. Oh, you can hear. Can everybody hear me? Okay. Great. Okay. So I'm Gary. I work for TIPA. I've been at TIPA. Is that working? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that. So yeah, I'm Gary. I work for TIPA, and I'm here today to talk about compostable, flexible packaging. So I've been in the packaging industry for 30 odd years now. So I originally worked with conventional materials. So polyester, polythene, polypropylene, all of the materials that you'll see on many of the stands and in the supermarket today is what I've been selling for sort of 30 odd years. About 3 years ago, I was looking for a new supplier for the company I was at. And in that process, I found TIPA. So for me, it made great sense. So TIPA offers compostable packaging that's bio-based. So what we've done is we've transitioned away from a pure fossil polymer, so normal plastics are normally made from oil and gas, to a bio-based material. And the other thing that's absolutely vital for TIPA is it's compostable. So we only offer compostable packaging. For me personally, that made perfect sense. I think we're going to talk a little bit about recycling today, but that was the thing that attracted me to TIPA, and I decided to join them, as I say, just over 3 years ago. And since then, I've been working with brands, converters and retailers across Europe, helping them transition from conventional packaging over to this new bio-based and compostable packaging. So, if we look at where people are today normally, with conventional packaging, it's very cheap, it's very functional, it does a great job. So, there's a reason why a lot of brands are using conventional plastics currently. But the problem is it's a little bit too good, so it lasts too long. It's very difficult to recycle. The cost of it is so low that when you try and recycle it, it adds so much cost to it that effectively people tend to use virgin material rather than recycled material. So it's got a long way to go to overcome some of the problems it currently has. And unfortunately, that leads to the global problem that we have today, which is packaging out in the environment. So these are terrible stories, as you can imagine, for the big brands around the world. It's not only a marketing disaster, it's sort of an environmental disaster as well. With conventional packaging, we've got to be much better at recycling it, collecting it, sorting it. And that's not easy to do. So TIPA was founded to provide an alternative, really, to this situation. So these are the global rates for recycling, so 9%. So all of the plastic that's been consumed over the last 50 years, about 9% of that's been recycled. It's a pretty poor position. That would include rigids and flexibles. So we've got a long way to go before conventional plastics really fixes where it is today. 12% incinerated, and then 79% of that is either in a landfill or lost to the environment. So as a period of time, we've been pretty poor in terms of managing the end of life for conventional plastics. In the UK, this is a UK show, we're a global company, so we've got sales and operations across the world, but specifically for the UK, about 50% of the products are packaged in flexible packaging. It's an amazingly successful pack format. Unfortunately, the recycling rate is around 4%. So they've got a mountain to climb in terms of dealing with all of those crisp bags, bread bags, carrier bags, bar wrappers that we're all using every day, that we're all relying on. They've got a mountain to climb in terms of how they're going to handle that and process that and turn it back into something useful. So more about TIPA now. So TIPA was founded around about 11 years ago now in Israel by a lady called Daphna. She has no background in packaging, so her background is really in computer software. But very good at spotting a problem and way ahead of the curve, really. So Daphna decided that she wanted to come up with an alternative to that conventional plastic that we're all so used to. So over a period of about 5 years, working in R&D and the chemistry behind it, TIPA then developed a range of packaging that is all bio-based, as I say, and compostable. So very, very different to what we're used to with conventional plastics. So once that packaging has been used, it's then designed to go into a composting system as opposed to a recycling system when it's developed. The inspiration was nature. It's got to look great. It's got to protect the product. Let's not forget, packaging is designed to protect products. It's not just a nice thing to look at. It has to preserve shelf life and protect what's inside it. And ultimately, once it's used, for our packaging, it has to be returned to nature in a timely fashion. So if you look at the evolution, if you like, if we go back 30 years, it was all landfill. Landfill is basically trapping that material in the ground, hopefully. We're seeing now instances where landfills are getting breached and we're losing material from landfills to the ocean, for instance, if it's on the seafront. We've got a downward spiral on recycling. I think, to say that recycling is always going to give you material that you can put back in and use infinitely, it just isn't the case. You might get one or two uses out of it before you lose it. So it isn't a system that's going to continuously put product back in the top and then keep using it and basically keep it forever. It's just not the case today. And composting, well, with composting, you do use the packaging once, but once you've used it, you turn it into compost through the composting system, and then we use that compost to replace the lost topsoil through farming. So the circularity comes from taking the packaging, recovering the carbon content that's in that material, and then putting it back on the fields to replace the soil that we lose through standard farming practices. For that, we can then grow future plant life, you can grow a crop on there, and that's where the circularity comes from composting. If you go back 100 years, most waste was processed through biodegradation and composting. It's only since plastics have come along that we've had to come up with other means of handling waste because it lasts for as long as it does. So this is a typical TIPA product. We're actually just down there on stand 910, so if you want to come and talk to us afterwards, we're happy to show you samples of what we can do. But this isn't like a paper bag that's going to fall apart very easily. These are very technical solutions, high performance. So this particular bag here, this is designed for, you could gas flush. It's got a very good gas barrier. It's got a good moisture barrier. The zipper on there as well, that's a compostable zipper, so you can easily open and reclose it. And at the end of life, once you've used it, you can compost that. You'll put it into the composting environment and it will then get returned to nature through the composting process. We've just recently launched these into home compostable, so I'll come on to the certification in a minute. There's home and industrial. So the recent development we've made is to allow this type of packaging to become home compostable. So this is really, what happened. So this is a bag that we do for Waitrose. It's a banana bag. It's a very durable bag, actually. The bananas are packed in these bags at source over in Peru and the Dominican Republic. So they're packed on the plantations. It's tough material. So they're then shipped to the UK in the bag. These are organic bananas, so they need to be segregated. You can't mix organic and non-organic. So it gives them the traceability then throughout the supply chain. And then when you get that bag home, the first thing they suggest you to do is to use it as a food caddy liner to give it a secondary purpose. So if you can use things twice, we would always promote that. So pop your fruit peels, your apple cores, whatever you've got in there, and put it into the food waste collection system. If you've got a home compost bin, you can go to B&Q for £20 and buy a black bin, put it in your garden, and you can home compost. So it's a fairly simple thing to do. And then over a period of time, you see within 45 days, this material's gone from being very elastic and tough into something that actually breaks down quite easily, and you can break it with your hands quite easily. And that's that first stage of composting, which is where the bonds in the material fragment and it causes it to break down. And then after that, it moves on to the digestion phase, which is where the bacteria and the microbes that live in the composting system, they'll actually digest the material and turn it into CO2, water, and biomass, which is the compost. So that's home composting. Home composting is like a step. Let's be honest, you're not going to be able to compost all of your packaging in your house. It's just too much. But it does give brands at this stage, this is a new sector really, it gives brands the opportunity to give the customer the chance to do something themselves. You certainly can't recycle packaging at home yourselves, but you can compost at home. If you move on to much bigger scale, so we as a packaging supplier, we feel it's our duty to integrate ourselves into the waste management system, so we work very closely with composters. So this is Envar in the UK. It's the single biggest site. It can process 130,000 tonnes of waste a year. So that would be garden waste, food waste, and compostable packaging. So this is really where we see packaging going in the future. So you'll have used it, you collect it, ideally through the food waste collection system. It'll be sent to Envar, and they'll be making thousands of tonnes of compost like this every year. That compost that's produced, that's sold to farmers. So they'll buy thousands of tonnes of compost just like this, and they'll use that to replace the lost topsoil that happens naturally through farming every year. So it's a very integral and important part of the agricultural world, if you like. So it's a very different journey to conventional packaging. You know, we're going in this direction, which is compost agriculture, regenerative farming as well. There's a lot of carbon in there, so there's carbon sequestration as well. So when you put compost on the soil, you're actually trapping carbon back in the ground. So it's a really important process that we're doing. So to do what we do is really difficult in terms of certification. So you're not allowed just to classify anything as compostable. So these are global standards. As a global business, we have to work with TÜV in Austria. You've got Dinserco, another European one, BPI in America, you've got ABA in Australia, and you've got the CRAE certification in Ireland. Ireland's really interesting because in Ireland, they actually allow you to put compostable packaging into the brown bin scheme. So if you have a brown bin for food waste collection, you can put, this bag into that waste stream, and they want it. It's permitted to do that, and that's what we would like globally. So well done, Ireland, really in leading the way with that. So for TIPA, we have those certifications as a global company. So you'll see these on packs, and this is really proof to you that packaging that you're using or you're buying, if you're a packer, is certified and is correct and can be used in the composting system. Now we have to reformulate this. There can be no harmful chemicals in here. The ink systems that are used have to have the inks reformulated to remove any harmful chemicals. So this isn't easy to do, but if you do it and you do it right, then you can use the certification. And for us, that's so important as a sector that we do the right thing. So a quick overview. We start off with a resin. We actually manufacture the material on polythene extrusion lines. So although chemically it's very difficult to traditional packaging, we actually use traditional machinery to manufacture it. You'll print it, you'll laminate it on conventional machines. So it's sort of almost a seamless transition from traditional materials to compostable. So we're trying to make it easy. And then after use, you'll then go through the composting phase, which is what we call the degradation, which is the breaking down, and the digestion then, which is when it gets transformed into compost. This is actually a food source to the bacteria and the microbe that do that. Recently, we've actually been awarded a UKRI granted project, and this is really exciting for the UK. So, TIPA's been doing this for 10 years. We've been building interest. There's a good, healthy sort of 10 companies, I suppose, in the UK that are involved in compostable packaging. But the UK government's now given us a grant, a funded project to investigate how compostable packaging could be moved into more of a mainstream application. So we've got looking at 3 categories. So the consumer area, so we've got online retail. So if you're a home delivery company, like Riverford Organic, somebody like that, they use our packaging. Then we're looking at how we can capture that material and then process that for them and take it back to composting. Closed loop events, so vegware is part of the process, so we're going to be looking at how we can capture, you go to a festival, you've got a cup, you've got a plate, how we can capture that and then compost that. And even at local authority level, because if you want to be accepted as mainstream, we need curbside collection as well. So we're going to be working with Milton Keynes Council, waste management companies, so that consumers or customers can actually put this in to their organic waste stream. We'll collect that and then we'll compost that as well. So this is really the first step in terms of gathering real data about how well this can work as a mainstream solution. We're then looking at the bio-waste industry as well, looking at the sorting of compostables and also the treatment of compostables. We're trying to tick off the whole thing. It's a 2-year project, and it will give the UK a huge amount of data in terms of how this can integrate and work with the UK waste infrastructure. And then on a governmental level, we're looking at the environmental and the economic impact of it as well. So it's great recognition for our industry. TIPA's leading this project. We'll be sharing information over the next couple of years as we learn things from it, and we hope growing compostables over that period of time. So I've got some quick examples now of products we've got in the market. Not all of these are UK. This is a bread bag that we do in South America for Bimbo. It's a home compostable bread bag. The banana bag you've seen already, so home compostable banana bag. This is like a bag of oats. It's a high barrier structure, it's a laminate. This now can be home compostable. When we launched it, it was industrial compostable. But this is designed to run on conventional vertical form fill packaging machines. So it's not just pre-made bags we do, it'll run on conventional packaging lines. Then we've got, this is down in New Zealand. So this is a home compostable chicken packaging. Bostock's use this across a real broad range of products. This is a high barrier stand-up pouch. We've got metallization in there, we've got barrier, we've got heat sealability, and we've got the reseal strip there to give it easy open and reclosure. Same for tea. It's interesting, the tea and the coffee industry, there's a nice connection to compostables. I think everyone appreciates, you want a compostable tea bag, and obviously coffee should be composted. Some of the materials just don't burn very well, and food isn't something that burns, it's too wet. So there's a big desire in the UK to move that into the organic waste collection stream, and really that's where we want the compostable packaging to go into. Fresh produce as well, this is an interesting one, because if you look at our material, the barriers are very, very different to what you'll get with conventional plastic. So a conventional polypropylene or polythene is quite impervious to moisture, so it traps moisture in the bag, which is great for certain products. But if you're packing fresh produce and you want it to allow that moisture to leave the bag to extend shelf life, it won't do it. So our material naturally allows the moisture to go through the surface of the material, and then it allows you to optimize and get much longer shelf life than you can with conventional packaging. This is a really nice bag. We launched it down in Australia originally, New Zealand, so it's for Apple. So you'd normally, you might bag it, you may put it in a tray. We've just launched it over in the US now. These are grapes. So a nice, easy carry-home bag with a zipper, home compostable. And these are some of the brands that we're working with. So there's some great names on there, as you can see. So we've got some of the major supermarkets now starting to look at it. We're starting to build momentum with those guys. Some great fruit brands. The organic sector very much likes compostables. There's a nice connection between organic produce and compostable packaging. Our materials are GM free as well. So although we have a bio content to them, we ensure that the bio content is a GM free source, so we're not conflicting them with things like soil association approval. And then, interestingly, fashion as well. I think I know this is a food show, but fashion's trying to put its house in order. So a number of fashion brands now are starting to use compostable packaging as that sort of touch point. And any of these bags, if the bag is big enough, we'd recommend it has a secondary purpose of food waste collection as well. So use it twice if you can. And, at the end of that use, you've got to dispose of it. This is what we would like as a sector, and this is what we're lobbying for in the UK, is that we can put the compostable packaging into the organic waste stream. So when we're capturing food, we can capture the packaging at the same time. So that's an overview, if you like, of what TIPA's doing, what compostables looks like, what it fixes. And hopefully that's given you some food for thought. And we're talking to some exciting brands now that are looking to make a switch from conventional packaging into compostables. We've got some brand new brands actually that don't want to go to conventional, they want to go straight into compostables as well. So there's some interesting choices. Don't assume you're going to lose shelf life as well. If we look at something like this, we do a lot of coffee, so we've got high barrier, good gas, good moisture and good light barrier. So don't feel as though you're going to compromise on shelf life of your product as well. So thank you very much.
Questions?
Hi there. Do you have any stats or information on how much this is driving customer behaviour and customer purchasing, if at all?
Amcor, I can share it with you actually. Amcor did some research. Amcor is the biggest packaging company in the world. They're the global industry, high hitters, if you like. And they did research, and they asked their customers. There was a big piece on recyclability. They included compostability in there as well. And they said, what packaging feature would drive a positive purchase? And they compared compostability to recyclability to bio-based. Number one in the UK, France, Sweden, Italy, and Germany, compostable in every country. That's research. It's about 4,000 people. But the consumers get it. I think if you talk to people, they sort of trust composting. There's a distrust of recycling because it isn't working. It'll get better undoubtedly, but it's got a long way to go yet.
Hi. Normally, how long would it take to make the switch from traditional to the new alternative?
Okay, so it would depend on what you want to use it for. So if you've got a very long life product and you want to do extensive tests and trials, it could take 6 to 12 months to do that whole process. If you've got a product that's a fairly short shelf life, like a fresh produce item, we could do that switch probably for you in about 3 months, supply some samples, let you do some transit trial, shelf life work, and then obviously you can choose to make that switch at that point. So it just depends on what you're doing and what your shelf life expectations are.
How do you communicate that your product is compostable? What's the best way?
Yeah, at the minute, we want people to cover it in home compostable logos or compostable logos. So this is the Waitrose bag. So this has home compostable printed on it. I don't know how many times, probably 60 times. You've got to read it, obviously. We've got to make that connection. But I think it is all about communication, because this looks and feels very, very similar. You know, I know the difference, but you guys might not be able to spot it. So, you know, we do wonder whether we maybe should have some colour coding on there. I think part of the research we're going to do with the UKRI is about how we communicate it. There's been talk of maybe having a colour across the top or the bottom of a bag to say, I am compostable, that everybody in our sector uses, not just one brand. So I think we've got to do our bit to make it very easy for people to understand it. Yeah, but we are considering that. It's part of the project.
Do you have anything currently that withstands heat? Like, for
Say again, sorry?
Anything that withstands heat. So, for example, like a ready meal lidding film or something.
Okay, we don't. Our materials, they actually need less heat than more heat. So when we run these on packaging machines, we have to turn the heat down, which is great. But they're not suited to go in the oven. Futamura, who makes cellulose, their material, which is also compostable and bio-based, that is allowed to go in the oven. So there are bio solutions, but just not ours.
Hi, what's the cost comparison compared to...
Yeah, that's a very good question. It is expensive. I'm not going to lie to you. This is a considered purchase. It's about 3 or 4 times more than conventional packaging. So the people that use this are people that, you know, it resonates with their brand values. It's something that they feel they want to communicate through their product.
This is a 10-minute warning until our certification clinic finishes. Please make sure to head over to the Future Food stage now for a drop-in session. Thank you.
No more?
Is it suitable for frozen product?
It is, yeah. So
Up
for
to 2
frozen, 18 months frozen. Yeah, we've got frozen fruits, frozen vegetables packed in it already. We've been doing that in France for a couple of years now. It works very well. Yeah.
It seems like a bit of a no-brainer to switch from typical plastics to this. How long do you think it will take for retailers and local councils to put a recycling or collection in place and sort of get it mainstream?
Yeah, that's a difficult one to answer that. UK retailers currently are very, very focused on recycling. That's what they want to succeed. We're sort of that solution in the background. You know, we talk about a recycling infrastructure. They're still figuring out how they're going to recycle it, what they're going to do with it, the economy around it. We're that sort of solution in the background. So the composting infrastructure is there. The material actually works and is certified. The bit we're missing is the collection scheme to take it from the home to the compost bin, which is what we want to do with the organic waste stream. We're talking to retailers about take-back schemes and things like that. The UK high street retailers at the minute aren't particularly engaged. We're trying, you know, our job is to try and convince them. We have done take-back schemes though with some niche ones that we work with. We've actually just finished a 3-month trial in the UK where we've been allowing our customers to collect packaging either in-store or some of it's home delivery, some of it's B2B, take that back and then arrange for that to be composted for them at Envar. So we're playing our part in that. But yeah, I think the UK mainstream retailer, we've got work to do with them, but that's what we're here for. You know, we want to engage with them, we want to make it happen. It'll take a while, though. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Great to see so many faces so early. So if you want to learn more, straight down there, stand 910, and we'd be happy to explain more to you. Okay, thank you.